The police have clashed with protesters in Paris after the French government took the decision to railroad the proposed pension reforms without even voting in parliament. Special constitutional powers have been used by the French government this time to force through the pension reforms bill amid chaos in parliament. President Emmanuel Macron invoked the constitution's article 49.3, which gives the government the power to bypass parliament. French cities have been witnessing huge protests over the controversial pension reforms that the government has been planning to put into motion. Transportation has been widely disrupted, chaos is in the air, and the anger, frustration of people is mounting exponentially. And this comes amid the soaring inflation and the energy crunch that France is currently beset by. The government of Emmanuel Macron calls these reforms part of a much delayed cost-saving measures. But the common public does not seem to be impressed by this rationale at all. Today, we decode why are French citizens so livid about these so-called reforms and why did they take to streets against these measures. But before that, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Oneindia. The protests and the plan are not incipient. In fact, the history of the current protests dates back to at least 3 years. The government had mulled increasing the retirement age a few years back, but it had to drop it because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Back then, the same proposals had prompted the longest strike on the Paris transport network in 3 decades. With the threat of COVID almost subsiding now, France wants to go ahead with that plan. This is the first time the trade unions across France have united since 12 years ago when the retirement age was hiked to 62 from 60. The new legislation will require French citizens to work until 64 years of age from 62 currently to qualify for a full pension. Due to this, some public sector workers will lose privileges and there will be an accelerated increase in the number of years of work required to qualify for a full pension. Starting 2027, a person will have to work for 43 years to receive full state pension benefits as opposed to 42 years now. As per the plan, from September this year, the regular retirement age will be increased by 3 months per year until 2030. Other changes envision increasing the minimum monthly pension allowances and counting maternity leave towards a woman's years of work. Those who started work below the age of 16 will be entitled to retire at 58 years of age. And there are other aspects to the so-called reform in the pension system. The pension system is seen as the cornerstone of the country's cherished model of social protection. Unlike the market-led system of the UK, France has a pension system priced for what politicians call solidarity between the generations, whereby the working population pay mandatory payroll charges to fund those in retirement. All French workers get a state pension. In a rare show of unity, all trade unions, including the Moderate Centre, have been protesting since the start of the year, organizing some of the biggest demonstrations in decades, which peaked last Tuesday when an estimated 1.28 million people took to the streets. Transport workers, energy workers, doctors, teachers and public sector workers, including museum staff, have held strikes. A rubbish collection strike is continuing and it has led to more than 7,000 tons of waste building up across half of Paris. Trade unions say this overhaul will penalize low-income people in manual jobs who tend to start their careers early, forcing them to work longer than graduates who are less affected by the changes. France actually has one of the lowest retirement age in the West. In the United States and the United Kingdom, the retirement age is between 66 and 67, depending on the year in which you were born. Raising the retirement age to 64 will keep France below the norm in Europe and in many other developed economies, where the age at which full pension benefits apply is 65 and is increasingly moving towards 67 now. This would also boost the employment rate among 60 to 64-year-olds, which is low compared with other European countries. France also spends more than most other countries on pensions. Nearly 14% of economic output is spent on pensions in the country. In 2019, it had the highest welfare spending of any country in the European Union at nearly 34% of GDP. That compared with 28% across the European Union as a whole in that year. And the reason for the French protesting against this is very simple. First, they don't want to be working for a whole one more year in order to avail the pension benefits. Recent polls have suggested that 80% of the population is opposed to pushing the retirement age to 64. Public sector workers who have been quick to resist Mr. Macron's reforms before are among those with the most to lose. New entrants will not be eligible for the special pension regimes enjoyed by their predecessors. And then the increase in the cost of living and growing inflation has hit France really hard. Few months back, a strike by the refinery workers had choked the supply of fuels across the country. This had led to more increase in prices of already high-priced oil and gas. France had also released fuel from stockpiles onto the market and had imported large quantities from refineries in Belgium, but those measures did not prevent the crisis from deepening. Furthermore, Emmanuel Macron has an image of being distant and aloof with the common public, and people believe his policies are made from an ivory tower. So, they are also skeptical of the intentions, and hence they don't trust the government to be fair or effective in the reforms they choose. This was all about the reasons why France is on the boil with respect to the proposed pension reforms. We hope you would like this new video. Thank you so much for watching.